Welcome back to RunThrough TV. It is Ben Sheppard here. Okay, today's conversation. I'm really looking forward to sharing this one with you actually, with Phily Bowden. Phily is an elite athlete. She's represented Great Britain on many occasions. She's recently just signed with Team New Balance Manchester and undergone some pretty big life changes as well, which you're going to hear all about in this conversation. She's also a content creator and just an all-round good person. And actually at time of recording this conversation, she was on training camp in Flagstaff as well, which is pretty cool. I hope you enjoy this conversation here on RunThrough TV.
I'm Phily Bowden. I am a long distance runner. Recently quit my job to pursue that kind of full time, I guess, still working as a running coach and creating content on YouTube, which I started about a year ago. It's all been a bit of a crazy whirlwind, but it's really cool to be doing that and saying it's kind of my job, which just seems so bizarre. But yeah, out here training with Team New Balance Manchester, which I recently moved up there as well. Yeah, God, a lot has changed in my life recently. That sounds a lot different to how my intro would have been 6 months ago, but it's really exciting.
Let's start with that then, because it has been quite an up and down 6 months, really. It's been pretty flat out. And I think the beautiful thing is you can actually see the last 6 months on your YouTube channel as well, and kind of see you going through those emotions and that process of leaving the job and joining Team NB Manchester and then deciding, right, I'm going to give this a proper shot, give it a real go and drop everything else. For you on the inside, for you, the person that it's happening to, has it felt like that? Has it felt like a bit of a whirlwind?
It really has, and documenting it, I think is something really special. Even just in a selfish way, that I think in 5 or so years' time, hopefully I can look back on it and be wow, that was such a pivotal moment, and it kind of feels surreal, kind of doing it. I don't know, I feel you hear about these stories where people I did this seemingly reckless thing and quit my job to pursue this thing that is a big risk. So yeah, it feels a little bit like a movie at the moment. I don't think it's really still sunk in, because I actually finished working in my government job that I was doing full time sort of mid-December, and then it was the Christmas kind of break, you go home, and now I feel I'm on holiday, out on a training camp. So I don't really know what my new normal is yet, but I'm excited to find out what that'll be.
Was there a moment that it just all clicked and you thought, I gotta roll the dice here, I've got to give it a go?
I think I could see it coming for a short while, and I kind of knew that when the opportunity came up to join the team up in Manchester, and that we were going to sort of move our lives up there from down south, I kind of knew that would be the catalyst. I was intending to carry on working part-time for longer than I did. But once I got up there and just sort of settled into the team really, really quickly, and saw, all these other amazing athletes around me who have more freedom by not having kind of a desk job that's really rigid timings, I was just I could wait another few months, or I could just do it now. I feel it's one of those things that if you wait until you're really ready, you might never be ready to do it. So you've kind of just got to take that leap sometimes. So yeah.
You've been in this kind of situation of a team many times in your life, but how has it felt settling into this new one? Have they welcomed you in with open arms? Is it a really good group? What's it been like kind of settling in?
Yeah, I think the transition's been really smooth, actually, helped by the fact that, my coach is at the helm of it all, and she's coached me for a couple of years. So on that side of things, seamless, and just so much better, because I can remember saying to her the first session I did, she's like, oh, I'm gonna have to get used to actually seeing you in person rather than her living up in Preston, me being down in Reading. So that was really, really easy, and just so beneficial, just getting so much more information, feedback from my coach, and seeing her in person. And yeah, the team are just lovely. I think with it being predominantly girls kind of helps at the moment. I guess it's just been really easy to slot into that. I mean, I get on really well with Adam as well, being the one guy on the team. But yeah, they've really welcomed me in, and I think the timing of this camp being sort of 6 weeks after I've joined is really nice as well, because we're all in this house together, crammed in with one kitchen. So it's sort of like make or break, and it has been really nice, like just sort of intensive in a good way, and getting to know everyone kind of more, because obviously some of them live together and I don't live in the house with them, so it's been really nice to just have some downtime together as well as working hard together,
shoveling the snow together.
Yeah, literally, yeah.
It's literally looked like following it on the channel and seeing the couple of videos you put out since you've been in Flag. It's almost looked like the house has been a little bit like a uni house. It's like everybody all together, like first kind of couple of weeks when you're there, kind of getting to know each other properly, even though I know you know each other, but living in each other's space. Like it must have been pretty cool to like almost have that intensive experience straight away to get to know everybody even better than you did before.
Yeah, and I feel like, you know, some of them live together now, and a lot of them have done plenty of camps with each other, so kind of know the signs to look out for when someone needs to like have some time on their own, or try and find some time on their own when there's loads of people around, or like they know how each other tick a lot more than I do. So it's been cool to pick up on that myself, but also hear like their experiences of that, and like just kind of getting to know each other through that experience. But yeah, it is a little bit like that. Although it's way more enjoyable than my usual experience living together, because like we all cook for each other. We've got like a rotation where we cook in pairs every 4 days, which is really nice. Nice mostly because you don't have to cook that often, but when you do have to cook, you've got to cook for a lot of people.
Come dine with me, Team New Balance. Sounds like it should be maybe a series. That'd be class.
I said that the other day. I said we should have started from day one and done like a little taxi drive home scenario for everyone, and then find out who wins at the end. It wouldn't be me, I can guarantee that.
That's your content creation brain going around and around.
Yeah, literally, yeah.
Probably is a good sort of transition over to that, because you know, it's been quite cool to see. I knew of you from the running world before, but then I didn't know you were doing, you were on YouTube and you decided to kind of go down that avenue as well for a while. And then I found your channel probably 3.5, someone sent it to me about 3.5 months ago and was like, hey, check out Phily making content now. And I look back and I think I've watched every video at this point, and anybody watching this, I'd say go back and do the same, because it's been cool to see kind of the journey of you getting like more confident in front of the camera, and the videos getting better and better and better with each post. Like, how has that felt for you? Because you've kind of been on this journey on that in front of everybody's eyes as well, kind of creating content and deciding to go down that route too a little bit.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like I'm so glad I started it, and I think I put it off for ages, just kind of not having the confidence to put myself out there and worrying what like people will think. And it's always the people that when you really look at it, you think, why do I care what you know, this person that I went to secondary school with that I don't speak to anymore thinks. Like, if they don't want to watch it, they don't have to watch it. But I think the thing that's really helped is like it's such a team effort with me and my partner Daniel. He films like the vast majority of the content, which I found really tough out here because I'm like, oh no, it's me with this camera that I don't normally hold. He edits it all and loves doing that side of things. And I think that makes it a lot more fun because we kind of work on it together as like a project. We don't see it as work. It's just like something that we do for fun. And it's, yeah, I don't think if you'd asked me a year ago, because it's coming up, I think it was pretty much a year ago that we filmed the first video, which I can't bring myself to watch, by the way. Like,
it's not as bad as you think.
So
I don't think it wouldn't be as bad as you think.
But yeah, I don't think if you'd asked me a year ago, would we have like kept up the consistency and put out at least one video a week? I don't think I thought we would have kept it up, but it's just been so much fun. And yeah, like you say, kind of growing with it and finding your style and like figuring out what you want to film has been, yeah, really enjoyable as well.
It must be quite nice as well, because it's another element to, you know, a training schedule that I'd imagine from time to time can become quite monotonous. It's something a little bit different to have there in the background, like having that ability to pick up a camera and do something a bit different if you want to do it.
Yeah, definitely. I think sometimes like we'll look ahead to the next sort of like 4 to 6 weeks and be like, okay, we'll work backwards from like, what are we definitely going to film? If there's races coming up, it would be silly not to film them. And then we kind of think, what could we fill in the gaps with to try and get something out each week? But yeah, it definitely does add another element. I was actually just on a call this morning with my sports psychologist, and I was saying that after a really tough session, I was kind of forced to reflect on it when I didn't want to. If had I not been filming, I'd have just been like, right, I'm going to forget about that and like just focus on the next session in 3 days' time. But I felt like I had to kind of talk about it and also think of something positive to say, which is a really good thing to practice, but really difficult to do if you don't have to do it. So I feel like it's sort of brought the best out of me in that sense as well, which is really nice.
Yeah, if you haven't seen that video, if you're watching this, go back. You're talking about the session that you did out there in Flag, aren't you? When you
the head mount.
You for the head mount session, you finished the session and was dead negative about it to start with, and then picked back up the camera and said, nah, like, I can't do that. It's kind of smiles in the bank. It was a good session. You have to go to the well sometimes kind of situation. And was much more positive about it afterwards.
Yeah, and I think I've always tried to do that, but I think had I not had the camera in my hand, it might have taken a few hours rather than 5 minutes being like, I can't like put this up. People are going to be like, you can't, I could just imagine the comments about like finishing a video with just like negativity and also supportive comments. Like I've got some really lovely subscribers out there, but I thought, okay, like even if I could just think of the one like most barely positive thing, like it's not been a waste of time. It's still, like you say, miles in the bank. It adds to the strength of character, if nothing else.
Have you found that? Because I've always found that the running community is very positive, but somebody at your level as well, have you found that positivity? Is that something you've seen with the channel? Not only with the channel, but kind of when you're going to races, whether they're big or small, is it always positive?
Yeah, the vast majority of it is. I think it's really difficult to like remember and focus on the most positive comments, even if you get like 99 comments and one of them's negative. Like by human nature, we're like programmed to fixate on that and remember it. But I make a real conscious effort to like remember those. Like I get some lovely comments and the things that people feel comfortable to share with me as well. And that when they say that, look, like you've helped my journey in this way and like this is my story, and I'm just sort of amazed really that there is a real kind of community out there, both like at events in person but also online, which I think is so lovely, especially in a sport where sometimes people will think it's lonely, but you're definitely never alone, even if you are sort of physically running on your own.
I think the one thing that you do brilliantly, and not kind of hyping you up too much here, but I think what it is compared to sometimes some channels or some content creators or whatever you want to say, I think you do authenticity very well. And I think that last video showed that very well, which was like, you're never going to lie to people. And you've spoke about some pretty serious things on your channel in the past as well. And I think people really grab onto that authenticity, and just being yourself in front of camera is so hard. And just by doing what you're doing, I think is going to impact a lot of people. And I think the channel's just going to keep growing, and you'll keep impacting people, which I'd imagine is another reason to keep doing it, right?
For sure, yeah. And thank you so much. That's like so lovely to hear. I think that's something that I always strive to do, is like keep it real as much as possible. Like, and it's totally fair that not everyone is like as open online. Some people keep things very private, but I think it's important to like not have like all of your social channels be like a highlights reel, because as people consuming that content, you then think that that's people's every day. So like I always try and like, even if it's like being a bit like self-deprecating or just making fun of myself, or just being like, this was an awful day, but it's fine, tomorrow's a new day, we go again, like, because we're all human and we all get that. But I feel like you're not kind of fed that as much online, because it's vulnerable to kind of put yourself in that position and share that. But it makes me feel better, I suppose, that then people see that it's not all sunshine and rainbows all the time.
In terms of running then, where are we at now? What have we got? An A goal? Is there something in mind that we're going for? And kind of what's the process from here to that point for you?
Yeah, so it's weird. I feel like I haven't raced in literally forever. Like I had a 10K sort of, I think it was like October, November time, and then I got ill. So it's been quite a while. So the next couple of races will be just sort of like warming back up to racing again. I've got a 10K not long after we get back, which is also a little bit of a test to see how I race straight after coming back down from altitude. So that's over in the Netherlands. I'm going with my teammate Yip to do a 10K over there. And then we're kind of in a base building phase to then gear up for the next marathon, which will be sort of like late spring. I haven't exactly confirmed yet what I'm doing, but I've got a couple in mind that'll be either sort of like late April or sort of like early May. So that's going to be the A goal, which seems so far in the future that I can just be like, yeah, I'm going to run a marathon soon, but not even in the block yet. So we're just like getting fit. But yeah, that'll be my big focus for the year, I think. I'd really like to run the world standard if I can, just 2:29:30. It's very fast, but yeah, that's what I'm going to be going for, I think.
What was that process like of deciding it's marathon running now that I want to do?
It's always been something I've wanted to do. Like ever since I started running, I just have seen it as this like amazing achievement just to run a marathon. I felt ready to do one probably when I was like sort of 25, 26, and it was just waiting for the right time sort of that I felt ready to cope with the mileage. And then last year running my first marathon, I just loved the training. I loved the race. I loved the whole process of like training for this terrifying unknown distance. And although now it's not unknown, I just kind of want to like do that all over again. Yeah. I think, yeah, I just love the longer stuff as well. So it suits me, I think.
And what was it like? You mentioned like obviously building up to that first one. What was that first one, finishing that, like boxing it off and kind of taking that overarching goal? Yeah,
it was surreal. Like I'd be very rich if I could bottle that feeling. Crossing the finish line, just being like, oh my God, I actually finished it. Especially because the last few miles, like it doesn't matter how many times people tell you that like the last 10K or 6 miles is going to be hell. Like it just felt like most of the race, just such a long time of being like, will I ever finish this? But I think as well, like coupled with like the like just sheer nervousness beforehand, like I've watched that race video back a couple of times and I literally feel sick to the stomach at the bit where I'm like walking up to the line and getting ready to warm up, because I'm right back there and I can like feel the temperature, like hear what's happening around me, and I just remember being so nervous because it was just the fear of the unknown. But yeah, makes for an amazing feeling when you actually finish the thing.
What are you, and this is always a very strange question I always find, but like when you're standing on the start line of whatever race, 5K, 10K, all the way up to a marathon, what is your head thinking? Where is your head at? Are you thinking about notes from coach? Are you just completely there with a goal in mind, or are you literally thinking about nothing? What is going on in there?
So before I get to the start line, I'm like distracting myself no end, just trying to be an absolute clown, because like humor is my go-to to like feel relaxed and like de-stress, which isn't always the best, because there'll be polar opposite people that are standing there like, leave me alone, I need to be in silence, and I'm just goofing around. When I actually get on the start line, I think it's just that like, it feels like it lasts forever. You're probably there for like 5 or 10 minutes max at a road race, even less on track race. I'm just trying to like keep myself calm and like focus, slow down my breathing, take a few deep breaths, and just like remind myself of the plan and break it down. I mean, Seville was quite sketchy because it was quite like bargy at the start, and I was standing there just thinking like, I really hope I don't fall over, and like asking people next to me like, if I go down, will you pick me up? But yeah, I think just trying to remain as like calm and relaxed as possible, because you kind of need to take a deep breath before you can't breathe for like 2.5 hours.
Yeah. And what about in those dark places when you are having to, you know, visit the pain cave a little bit, whether that's in the second half of a 5K, or whether that's in the last 6 miles of the marathon, or even just in a hard session, like where do you go, and how do you kind of talk yourself into finishing those moments when it does get difficult?
I think I just try and break it down like as much as I can. So on the track, it'll be like if I'm in a hellhole and I've got like 2K to go, I'll break it down to like lap by lap, or work out how many more laps I've got till I've got a mile, or like think, oh, it's a mile and then it's a lap, or that sort of thing. And then like on the road, I don't know, I need to get better at it, to be honest, with the kind of like focusing on somewhere I go to in my head that's like a really positive place. But I'll sort of like pick a point on the course and like focus till I get that, then focus on getting to the next one. I think in Seville, like I just kept looking at my watch and being like,
it's not moving
slowly.
It's not moving.
Yeah. And like the pace just goes out the window, and I'm looking at it, it's like 6 something, and I'm like, I just don't know. Finish the race. As long as I finish it, it's fine.
What's it been like then the last kind of couple of months? Have you seen benefits of being with the team and being with coach and just kind of being around more people and not doing so much training solo? Have the benefits already started, or kind of where are you with those?
Oh, massively. I mean, for starters, like I have time to go to the gym twice a week, because that's like rigidly part of the routine. That was the first thing that would go back when I was working full time, because I would just literally run out of time, and I'd be like finishing a run at 8 p.m. and thinking, is it sensible to go to the gym now and get home at 9:30, have dinner, or shall I just can it? So like just being able to be really purposeful with my training and like not rush anything and kind of focus on it has been really nice. And also just like picking up things from those around me that I see as like, you know, that's a good habit to pick up, or, you know, I want to be better, and like just surrounding yourself with people that kind of practice what you preach, I think. Going to bed early, like looking after the little things. Things like that, I suppose. And also just being up here, like sharing the experience and sharing the hard work with people. You get so much more out of yourself, but it's also so much more fun.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have to be so like, I just need to focus on this tree that I'm staring at. Like you can actually talk to someone in your recovery, or like, you know, pull each other along, which is really nice.
I think running is like obviously your happy place, like it is a lot of people's happy place. Big question. Why do you love it so much?
I think we're simple beings. Like I'm good at running, and I get a buzz from that. In the competitive side of things, I'm a horrendously competitive person. Like, trust me, you don't want to play Monopoly with me. Well, like, so like it feeds that need, but it's down into so many other things now, because it's not just that. Like if I was told I was never allowed to compete again, I would still do it, because it's like finding my headspace. It's my way to get my energy out and like de-stress. My partner hates it when I take time off if I'm injured, or if I have a week of rest, because after like 3 days, I'm just unbearable to be around, because I have all this energy that I don't know what to do with. He's like, you're so annoying, just go for a run. So yeah, I love it for that. And like, whilst I'm keen that like your sport isn't your personality and it doesn't become that, my whole life is built around it now, that like it's my social circle, like it's how I know people all over the world, which I think is really, really awesome. I think I'd be a worse person without it. I think it's made me like a better person in like the traits you get from what you get from training and racing as well, like that just filter into your personality in a good way.
I do think running, although the biggest benefit is the physical benefit, and that's like why obviously the most people do it, there is this culture within the world of running as well that isn't just the physical thing. It's very much like you said, it's those people around the world that you would never have met before. It's the people that you may have talked to, or the comments that you might get. And that kind of, when people say, oh, don't base your life around a hobby or whatever, it's like they're things that aren't the hobby, but they're still there and still very, very kind of beneficial to your life, and that kind of positive self-talk that a lot of people get just through being in the community, I think. And I think there'll be people watching this now probably thinking, bloody hell, running sounds good, doesn't it? Like, I might give it a go. Like, what would you say?
Try it if you haven't.
What would you kind of say to somebody threatening to buy their first pair of trainers? I
would say definitely do it. And if you have the kind of like commitment to keep doing it when it's not fun and it's painful and it's just crap, because it will be for at least like 2 weeks to 2 months. Like, you've got to get past that bit if you're starting from nothing and you class yourself as not a runner. My partner's actually just got to that stage and he's like, oh, I like this now because I can do it and it's not just really hard and that's all you can think of. So you got to get past that bit first. But like, just surround yourself with other people, like go down to the park run. It's like, there's just so many lovely people out there that will go for a run with you or like give advice if you need it.